Welcome back for another deep dive.
Always exciting to dig in.
Yeah, today we're going to be looking at starting a business in Kenya.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Really?
and specifically it's about a tent and chair rental business.
Okay.
Um, and you might be surprised how affordably someone could actually launch this.
Okay.
So our source material is this YouTube video,
Hmm.
and it's claiming that you can get started with just 20,000 Kenyan shillings,
Wow.
which is like less than 200 US dollars.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
Yeah, what I find fascinating is how this specific business model,
Yeah.
it reflects like the larger economic trends that we're seeing globally,
Okay.
like the rise of the sharing economy and the potential of these emerging markets.
Okay, so this video is using the tent and chair rental business as like a case study,
Mm.
but also kind of touching on the broader Kenyan economy and just like general strategies for success.
Right.
And the target market seems pretty broad, right?
Yeah.
Essentially anyone in Kenya who's planning an event.
It's exactly like the video specifically mentions birthday parties, weddings, and community events. But really, I mean, any type of gathering could be a potential customer, right?
Mm.
And it also hints at the possibility of expanding into related services,
Okay.
as the business grows. So things like photography or event management.
Interesting. So you could start small with just the tents and chairs,
Mm-hmm.
but then potentially branch out and offer a whole suite of event services.
Precisely.
Okay.
Now, before we get too deep into the specifics of the business itself, the video starts by painting this quick picture of Kenya's economic situation, specifically mentioning the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay.
So the GDP growth in 2020, it slowed to just 1.4%. And that was a significant drop from the 5.4% growth they had in 2019.
Yeah, that's a pretty big hit. So starting a business in the midst of an economic downturn, that's certainly a bold move.
Absolutely. It speaks to the resilience and the entrepreneurial spirit of the Kenyan people. But it also begs the question, why this particular business? What makes tent and chair rentals so attractive, even in like a challenging economic climate?
Well, the video really emphasizes the simplicity and accessibility of the business model. It's you buy the equipment, you rent it out for events, and there you go, profit. It almost sounds too good to be true.
Well, the simplicity is definitely a key factor there. It lowers the barrier to entry, allowing more people to participate in the economy, even with limited capital. And the video breaks down the startup costs into 3 scenarios. And it's pretty impressive how little you actually need to get started.
Right, like you said, just 20,000 Kenyan shillings can get you going. What exactly would that buy you in terms of equipment?
At that budget level, you could start with 2 basic gazebos. Those are those cloth tents you often see with like the green and white stripes. They're ideal for smaller gatherings, accommodating around 25 people each.
Got it. So a good starting point for those just dipping their toes into the event rental world. The video also mentions like a mid-range budget option, right?
Yes. For about 70,000 Kenyan shillings, you could upgrade to 2 high peak party tents. Those are typically made of like PVC, and they also have a capacity of around 25 people each. Or you could stick with the gazebos and add around 70 white plastic chairs to your inventory.
So some interesting choices to make there, depending on your budget and target market. I'm curious about those high peak tents. Are they like a better investment in the long run?
That's a great question. And the video actually goes into quite a bit of detail about the different types of tents that are available and the factors that influence their pricing. Besides those gazebos and high peak tents, you have things like marquees, domes, pyramids, even clear tents for like a more modern look.
Wow, it's like a whole world of tents I never even knew existed.
Yeah.
But is there like a particular type that's more popular or profitable in the Kenyan market?
That's where the video gets a bit less specific. It talks about capacity design, features materials like canvas type, frame strength, UV protection, water resistance, all of which impact the price.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really delve into which types are most in demand or offer the best return on investment.
Okay, so some research might be needed there for someone serious about getting into this business. What about sourcing the tents? Does the video mention where to buy them?
It does touch on that, briefly mentioning the difference between buying from independent manufacturers
Yeah.
versus larger factories.
Okay.
Apparently, the factories offer lower prices, but sometimes they compromise on quality. So it's a trade-off to consider.
Interesting. So those starting with a tighter budget might be tempted by the lower prices, but then they run the risk of having their tents wear out faster. It's a tricky balance.
Exactly.
And speaking of equipment, we can't forget about the chairs. The video has a whole segment on chair preferences. which have apparently evolved quite a bit over time.
Oh.
I'm all ears. Tell me about this chair evolution.
Well, it used to be all about those classic plastic chairs with the armrests, but now armless chairs are becoming more popular. The video suggests this is because they're less bulky, they take up less space, and they're easier to decorate.
So functionality and aesthetics are both important considerations.
Right.
Makes sense.
And then there's this whole trend towards what they call cavery chairs, which have really gained popularity since 2011.
Cavery chairs. I've never heard of those. What are they like?
They're basically more stylish and comfortable chairs, often made of wood, metal, or fiber. And they sometimes come with fancy cushions. They're seen as more upscale and exclusive, so people are willing to pay a premium to rent them.
Got it. So like the VIP section of chairs, I bet those are pretty profitable to rent out. What about the cost to buy them?
The video says cavery chairs can cost anywhere from 2,500 to 4,500 Kenyan shillings to buy, which is quite a bit more than those basic plastic chairs.
Yeah, but if you can rent them out for a higher price, it might be worth the investment. Do they give any specific examples of rental prices for cavery chairs?
They mention a range of 150 to 300 shillings per chair. But again, there's no standardized pricing formula, so it's likely influenced by factors like the specific type of chair, the event, and even the vendor's location.
Okay, so some market research and savvy negotiation skills would come a long way in this business. We've talked about the different budget scenarios and equipment options. But before we jump into the nitty-gritty of pricing and profits, I'm curious about the legal side of things. Are there any licenses or permits required to operate this type of business in Kenya?
Good question. The video mentions that you definitely need a standard trading license from the local authorities, which can cost anywhere from 3,000 to 10,000 Kenyan shillings, depending on the county.
So location plays a role even in the initial setup costs. What about any specific licenses related to the tent and chair rental itself?
Interestingly, no. It seems like that basic trading license covers that aspect. However, there's a caveat if you're planning to use that public address system we talked about earlier.
Right, that higher-end budget option that includes the amplifier, mixer, microphone, and speakers. What's the catch?
Apparently, if you're going to be playing music at events, you need to obtain both NEMA and MCSK licenses for playing sound in public spaces.
So that adds a layer of complexity and cost if you're planning to offer music services. What exactly are NEMA and MCSK? Are those government agencies?
The video doesn't fully explain.
Yeah.
But it sounds like NEMA is the National Environment Management Authority, which likely regulates noise pollution. And MCSK is the Music Copyright Society of Kenya, responsible for collecting royalties for music usage.
Makes sense. So another thing to research thoroughly before blasting those party tunes. I'm guessing those licenses probably vary in cost as well.
It's highly likely, although the video doesn't provide specifics on that either. It does emphasize, though, that obtaining these licenses is often the responsibility of the event organizer, not necessarily the equipment rental company.
Interesting. So it could be a potential point of negotiation with clients, especially for those larger events with more elaborate setups.
Absolutely.
Now let's shift gears and talk about the competitive landscape. The video mentions that the tent and chair rental business is becoming increasingly competitive in Kenya. Not surprising, I guess, considering how relatively easy and affordable it is to get started. What are some of the factors driving this increased competition?
The video points to a few key trends. First, equipment prices have been decreasing in recent years due to more importers entering the market. This, of course, makes it easier for new entrepreneurs to get started, but it also puts pressure on existing businesses to stay competitive.
Right, it's like a double-edged sword. Lower startup costs are great for aspiring entrepreneurs, but they also intensify the competition. Is there enough demand in the market to support all these businesses?
That's a crucial question, and thankfully the video does offer some insights there. It seems like demand for higher quality events has actually increased in Kenya in recent years, which is partly driven by those lower equipment prices we just talked about.
So people have more options and they're willing to spend a bit more. To get that elevated event experience, what else is fueling this demand?
Well, the video mentions a few other factors. First, the Kenyan economy has been recovering, so people have more disposable income to spend on events. Second, there's increased exposure to different event styles through television, the internet, and travel, so people are getting more ideas, and they're raising their expectations.
Makes sense. People were seeing those fancy events on Instagram and Pinterest, and they want to recreate that experience for themselves.
Exactly. And then there's the factor of urbanization. As more people move to cities, the demand for event services naturally increases.
So it's like a confluence of economic, social, and cultural trends driving this growth in the event market. But even with increased demand, I imagine there must be some areas that are becoming saturated with tent and chair rental businesses.
You're absolutely right. The video acknowledges that some urban centers are becoming quite crowded, but it also emphasizes that there are still plenty of opportunities in underserved areas, particularly in more rural or suburban locations.
So it's all about finding those niche markets and target audiences. What about competition from those larger one-stop event companies that are popping up? Are they squeezing out the smaller players?
That's a concern many people have. But the video suggests that these larger companies haven't captured a dominant market share yet. In fact, their presence might actually be benefiting smaller businesses in some ways.
Really? How so?
Well, these larger companies often have bigger marketing budgets and more visibility. So they're essentially raising awareness of event services in general.
Yeah.
This can create a ripple effect, driving more business for everyone in the industry, even the smaller players.
That's a fascinating perspective. It's like they're inadvertently doing the marketing for the entire sector. So even though it's a competitive market, there's still room for both big and small players to coexist and thrive.
Exactly.
Now, I'm sure you're wondering, with all this competition, how much money can someone actually make in this business?
Let's talk profits.
You read my mind. Let's talk profit.
Well, as with any business, profitability depends on a variety of factors. But the video does offer some intriguing insights into the financial side of tent and chair rental in Kenya.
Okay, let's dive into the numbers. Does the video give any specific examples of how much someone could earn renting out tents and chairs?
It does for tents. It mentions an average rental price of around 3,000 Kenyan shillings for an event with 50 people.
Okay.
If you bump that up to 100 people, the price goes up to about 4,250 shillings. And for even larger events, say 500 people, the price is usually a multiple of that 100-person tent price.
Interesting. So the bigger the event, the bigger the potential payout. Makes sense. What about chairs? Is there like a similar pricing structure?
The video gives some general guidelines, but emphasizes that there's no standardized pricing formula in this business. It really depends on market forces, negotiation, and the perceived value of your services.
Great. So it's not as simple as just saying a tent costs this much, a chair costs that much. You've got to play the game a bit.
Exactly. But to give you an idea, basic plastic chairs, they typically rent for between 10 and 20 shillings each, while those fancy executive chairs can command a much higher price, somewhere between 150 and 400 shillings.
Wow, that's quite a price difference. I guess those executive chairs really cater to a specific clientele, huh?
Absolutely. It highlights the importance of understanding your target market and offering a range of options to cater to different needs and budgets. The video also mentions tables, with a 6-person table renting for around 200 shillings and an 8-seater going for about 250.
Got it. So there's potential to diversify your revenue streams by offering a variety of seating and table options. But I'm curious about the bigger picture. How do entrepreneurs actually calculate their return on investment in this business?
The video touches on this, but it admits that the method it presents is pretty crude. Essentially, it uses the example of a chair that costs 600 shillings to buy and rents for 20 shillings per event.
Okay, I'm following so far. So how long would it take to recoup your investment on that chair using that method?
Based on those numbers, it would take 30 event days to earn back your initial 600 shillings. But the video stresses that this is a very simplified calculation.
Right. I imagine there are a lot of other factors that can affect your actual profits.
Absolutely. The video mentions things like price discrimination, where you might charge different rates depending on the type of event the client or even the time of year.
That makes sense. You might offer a discount for a nonprofit event or charge a premium during peak wedding season.
Exactly. And then there are labor costs to consider. You might need to hire people to help with setup, takedown, and cleaning, especially as your business grows.
Right, and those costs can add up quickly, especially if you're paying fair wages. What about transportation? Getting all that equipment to and from the events must factor into the equation as well.
Absolutely. The video acknowledges that transportation costs can eat into your profits, especially if you're covering fuel and vehicle maintenance. And then there's the ever-present factor of inflation, which can erode your margins over time.
So it's a lot more nuanced than just dividing the cost of a chair by the rental price. You've got to factor in all these other variables to get a realistic picture of your profitability.
Precisely. And let's not forget about the wear and tear on the equipment itself. Those tents and chairs aren't going to last forever, especially with frequent use and exposure to the elements.
That's true. So you've got to factor in replacement costs as well.
Exactly. The video estimates the lifespan of a chair and tent to be between 2 and 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
But that can vary depending on the quality of the materials, how well they're cared for, and even changing trends.
Oh, interesting. So there's like a fashion element to this business as well.
It seems so. The video mentions that trends in event decor and styles can influence the popularity of certain types of tents and chairs. So you might need to update your inventory periodically to stay ahead of the curve.
Wow, it's like a constant evolution. Okay, so we've talked about pricing strategies, costs, and the lifespan of the equipment. What about payment terms? How do transactions typically work in this business?
The video explains that most vendors require a deposit when the equipment is booked, with the remaining balance paid upon delivery. The specific ratios vary, with some preferring a 50-50 split, and others opting for a larger upfront deposit, maybe 80-20.
That makes sense. The deposit protects the vendor in case of last-minute cancellations, but what happens if a customer does cancel?
That's a big risk, especially for smaller vendors. The video points out that they might have turned down other clients to accommodate that booking. So a cancellation can be a real financial blow.
I can see how that would be a problem. Did they mention why customers might cancel?
It seems there are various reasons. Sometimes the customer might find a better deal elsewhere, or decide to give the business to a friend instead. Other times, the event might be postponed or rescheduled, leading to a cancellation.
So there's an element of unpredictability to this business. You can't just assume that every booking is guaranteed revenue.
Exactly. And this highlights the importance of having clear and transparent cancellation policies in place. To mitigate those risks,
Right, you need to protect yourself as a business owner. What about the transportation aspect? Who typically handles getting the equipment to and from the events?
it depends on the vendor size and resources. Larger companies with their own transport vehicles often offer free delivery for certain order sizes within a specific radius.
So it's like a bulk discount for delivery. What about those smaller players who might not have their own trucks?
They usually negotiate a transport fee with the customer based on the distance and the number of items being transported.
Okay, so another variable to factor into the pricing. You can't forget about the cost of getting those tents and chairs to and from the event.
Precisely. And there's always the option of the customer arranging their own transport.
Hmm.
But as the video points out, that comes with its own set of risks.
Oh, like what?
Apparently, there have been cases of scammers posing as customers and making off with the equipment after the vendor entrusts it to them.
Yikes, that's a scary thought. So vendors need to be cautious and verify the legitimacy of their customers, especially those who insist on handling the transportation themselves.
Absolutely trust, but verify, as they say.
Wise words. Now let's shift gears and talk about the customer perspective. What are the key factors that influence someone's decision to choose one tent and chair rental vendor over another?
The video emphasizes three main influences. First, recommendations from friends. Word-of-mouth marketing is incredibly powerful, especially in a community-driven society like Kenya's.
It's like the ultimate endorsement. If someone you trust recommends a vendor, you're more likely to give them a try. What are the other factors?
Second, a company's presence. This could be through billboards, social media websites, or even a physical display of their equipment. The more visible they are, the more likely potential customers are to remember them when they need event services.
So it's all about building brand awareness and staying top of mind. What's the third factor?
Proactive marketing efforts. Some vendors go out and actively seek potential customers, especially when they hear about upcoming events. They might attend networking events, contact event organizers, or even cold call potential clients.
So it's a combination of passive and active marketing strategies. You need to make yourself known, but also go out and hustle for business.
Exactly. And once you have a customer's attention, it's crucial to understand what they're looking for. The video dives into the specific things customers value when choosing a tent and chair rental vendor.
I'm curious to hear this. What are the top priorities for customers in this market?
Well, first and foremost, they want assurance. They need to know that the vendor will deliver the equipment as promised, on time and according to their specifications. Reliability is key.
Absolutely. You're basically entrusting this vendor with a crucial part of your event. What else do they look for?
Professionalism is another big one. Customers want to work with a vendor who is organized, responsive, and provides excellent customer service. It's about building a relationship, not just making a transaction.
So it's about the whole experience, from the initial inquiry to the final delivery.
Exactly. And of course, pricing is always a factor. Customers want a fair price that reflects the quality of the service. It is within their budget. But it's not just about finding the cheapest option.
Right. Value for money is important, but it's not the only consideration.
Exactly. Aesthetics also play a big role. Customers care about how the equipment looks. They want tents and chairs that complement the style and ambience of their event.
This goes back to that trend toward cavalry chairs we discussed earlier. People are willing to pay more for equipment, that enhances the aesthetic appeal of their event.
Precisely. And let's not forget functionality. The equipment needs to be in good condition, sturdy, and appropriate for its intended use.
So it's a balance of form and function. You want it to look good, but it also has to perform well.
Absolutely. And finally, the video highlights the importance of positive reviews for business growth. In today's digital age, online reviews are like gold. Potential customers rely heavily on reviews from previous clients to gauge the reliability, professionalism, and overall quality of a vendor.
It's like social proof, right? If other people have had a good experience, you're more likely to trust that vendor.
Exactly. Positive reviews build credibility and trust, which are essential for attracting new customers and growing your business. So it's crucial for vendors to prioritize customer satisfaction and encourage happy clients to leave positive feedback online.
This has been a fascinating exploration of the customer side of the business. But now I'm curious about the people behind the scenes. The video mentions different staffing needs, from salespeople to casual staff to potential management roles.
It's interesting how the staffing needs evolve as the business grows. Initially, you might be able to handle everything yourself, but as you gain more clients and expand your offerings, you'll likely need to build a team to support your operations.
Right, it's like a little ecosystem developing. You've got your salespeople bringing in the clients, your casual staff handling the logistics and setup, and potentially even a management team overseeing the whole operation.
Exactly. And the video highlights the importance of having a motivated and well-compensated team, whether it's commission-based rewards for salespeople or fair wages for casual staff. Investing in your people is key to long-term success.
It's about creating a win-win situation. Happy employees translate into happy customers, which leads to a thriving business.
Precisely. And the video also touches on the importance of leadership within the team. Promoting a casual worker to a supervisory role, for example, can foster a sense of ownership and encourage professional growth.
It's about empowering your employees and giving them opportunities to develop their skills and take on more responsibility.
Absolutely. And as the business scales up, you might need to bring in more specialized roles, like a marketing manager to handle your online presence, a receptionist to manage bookings and inquiries, or even a driver to oversee the transportation logistics.
So it's a dynamic process. The team grows and adapts to meet the changing needs of the business. This whole discussion about staffing brings up another point mentioned in the video, the importance of mindset and resilience when it comes to entrepreneurship.
You're right. The video actually shares a quote from Wayne Huizenga, an American businessman who owned Blockbuster Video and the Miami Dolphins. He said, "Some people dream of success while other people get up every morning and make it happen."
That's such a powerful message. It speaks to the grit and determination required to succeed as an entrepreneur. It's not just about having a good idea. It's about putting in the work day after day to make that idea a reality.
And the tent and chair rental business in Kenya is a perfect example of that. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a business that requires hard work, savvy decision-making, and the ability to adapt to a constantly evolving market.
Absolutely. There are challenges and risks involved, as with any business, but there's also immense potential for success and personal fulfillment. But I'm curious, beyond the practicalities of running this type of business, what are some of the less tangible rewards? Does the video touch on that at all?
It does. It speaks to the deeper meaning behind this seemingly simple venture. It's not just about renting out tents and chairs. It's about creating spaces for people to gather, celebrate, and connect with each other.
Wow, that's beautifully put. It's about facilitating those special moments, those shared experiences that make life richer and more meaningful.
Exactly. And in a country like Kenya, where community is so deeply ingrained in the culture, these gatherings play a vital role in strengthening social bonds and fostering a sense of belonging.
So the tent and chair rental entrepreneur is, in a way, a facilitator of community, a weaver of the social fabric.
I love that analogy. It adds a whole new layer of meaning to what might seem like a mundane business.
It's a reminder that even the most seemingly ordinary endeavors can have a profound impact on people's lives.
And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. It's about seeing opportunities where others might not, taking risks and creating something valuable. That serves a need in the community.
This deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening. We've gone from the nuts and bolts of starting a tent and chair rental business to exploring the broader societal impact of entrepreneurship.
It's been quite a journey. And now I'm eager to hear what our listeners are thinking. What stands out to you? What questions has this sparked for you?
Yeah, I think what's really striking is how this deep dive has kind of shifted from a purely practical how-to into something much more inspiring.
Yeah, that's true.
Like we've uncovered the story about community resilience and Just like the ripple effects of a single business idea.
It's true, and that's what makes exploring entrepreneurship so fascinating. It's never just about the product or service. It's about the people, the
That's right.
context, the potential for positive change.
Exactly. And for our listener, who's been absorbing all of this, I think there's this powerful takeaway here. That entrepreneurial spirit, that drive to create something valuable can be applied anywhere, even in something as seemingly simple as renting out tents and chairs.
hmm And the video's choice to focus on Kenya, I think, is deliberate. It showcases this nation known for its entrepreneurial energy, a place where opportunities are emerging alongside this rapidly growing economy. It's a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected places hold the most potential.
And it's not just about individual success, right? It's about fulfilling a need in the community, generating jobs, contributing to a more vibrant economy. It's about creating a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Absolutely. The video subtly highlights the ripple effects of a single business. Those employed by the tent and chair rental company, the suppliers they work with, the local businesses that benefit from the increased event activity. It all connects.
I'm also struck by the resilience aspect. This video isn't just about starting a business. It's about doing so in the face of economic challenges, adapting to changing trends,
Yeah.
and finding creative solutions to overcome obstacles.
It's inspiring.
Very inspiring.
Yeah,
And that message of empowerment resonates deeply, I think. It demonstrates that with limited capital, a willingness to hustle, an adaptable mindset, anyone can tap into the power of entrepreneurship and build a brighter future for themselves and their community.
absolutely.
The video closes with a quote that I think really captures this sentiment. It says, "Some people dream of success while other people get up every morning and make it happen."
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a call to action, a reminder that success is rarely handed to you. It's earned through hard work, dedication, and a relentless pursuit of your goals.
And as we reach the end of this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a thought-provoking question. The video uses the tent and chair rental business as a case study, but what other untapped opportunities might exist in growing markets like Kenya? What other needs are waiting to be met?
Ooh, I love that. It's an invitation to look beyond the obvious to spot those gaps in the market and dream up innovative solutions. Maybe our listener, fueled by the insights from this deep dive, will become the next Kenyan entrepreneur to make a splash, creating a thriving business that not only generates income, but also leaves a positive mark on their community,
That's what we hope for.
to inspire, to educate, and to spark those entrepreneurial flames.
Absolutely.
If this deep dive has given you any ideas or if you have thoughts to share, head over to our social media and let us know. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.